What's up, everybody? This is Entendre making some Psytrap. This is a request from one of my viewers trying to make some of this style, and there's not a lot of videos about it, but there's definitely some good tracks out there, and I thought I'd take a stab at making a sketch for you guys. First off, we're going to load up a drum rack, and let's go ahead and start building a beat. So I'm just going to search for 808 because we're going to use like some 808 drums. So first I'm going to start with like a hi-hat, and we'll grab a snare. It's a pretty good one. And let's get a kick too, but I don't want the long 808 sub. I just want like a short snappy kick for now, because I think we should put that on a different track so we have more control. So you can use this short tight kick. So let's go ahead and build a basic beat with this. And let's set our tempo. I'm going to set it to 144. I like that tempo personally. And then let's extend this pattern out for 4. And so we're going halftime since it's 144. Is the basic rhythm. But we can vary it up to make it interesting here. Alright, and let's add some hi-hats. So for this, we can actually do a bit of a trick here by adding a MIDI effect, and we'll just put the arpeggiator right before this. And now we can automate this rate to create our pattern. So let's draw one long note here. I'll just click there, make it legato, and drag it all the way out. Now if I go into the clip and go into the envelopes edit mode, we can see here's the tempo of that arpeggiator. So I can go ahead and hit B to switch to the pencil tool and draw in tempo automation. So if I want it to go faster or slower for certain parts, that's easy. So for example, so now we can extend this out even longer and add some more variation. So let me hit B to switch back, select all, Command D to duplicate, and now let's go back into edit mode, hit B again, and draw some more variations here. So we could even have it go starting at 12, going down to 16, then to 24, or we can have it start at 6, go to 16, 32, 64. We can do little bursts at the end of fast and then slow. And just experiment with it, get it how you like it. Just making some adjustments here based on what I heard. And let's go ahead and slow that down for the first part. All right, that's sounding pretty good. So let's move on to the 808 bass. So you can either use a sample or a synth and make it yourself. I think for this example, we're going to use Serum and just make a bass from scratch really quick. So let's go ahead and load up Serum. It's a custom skin I'm working on. Still work in progress, but all right. So I have some preset basses I made, but we're just going to build one. So let's go into pencil mode and just draw in the bottom fundamental, so that turns it into a sine wave, and then we can get out of there. And let's go ahead and turn on some distortion. So there's a lot of different options, and you can experiment. Basically, what makes a good sub bass or a 808 bass is different types of attacks and different types of saturation or distortion on your sine wave. So you also want to be aware of the key you use for your song, because a lot of people recommend writing in F or somewhere around there, because that's about as low as you can go with the bass and have it still be audible on most sound systems. So that's usually a recommended range, somewhere in there. So let's go ahead and find F on the keyboard. All right, so already it sounds pretty good just as a sub with a little bit of saturation, sine shaper. You can play with the mix. And the settings there. And there's different ways you can do it. You can add a lot of release. And adjust this. You can also have a short release and hold the notes. And that can be fun for having nice gaps in your beat to go with your beat. You can also turn on mono and legato and get some bending going on between notes. So, and adjust this to taste. And one thing you want to do is play with the punch at the beginning of it. So we're going to layer it with a kick, so we already have that. But we could turn on noise here if we want and find like a little bit of a kick to layer it with here. And turning on that one-shot mode just puts it at the beginning. You can hear that little click now. Or without. You can turn on the key follow if you want. Or not. Try different ones too. Another way to add some punch to the beginning is to drag an LFO or an envelope onto your pitch, your chorus pitch, or chorus pitch, and if you hold Command or Option, Shift, and click on the Mac, it'll go into this unipolar mode. You You can also adjust that here. And so now it's just going to be going down in pitch rather than both ways or up. So now we can adjust this curb. And so that'll add a little bit of pitch drop at the beginning of the sample and give it some attack. So, and we can turn this to envelope mode, so every time we hit the key, it starts over and only plays once. With trigger mode, it'll keep looping. So we want the envelope mode. And you can adjust this to taste. So that sounds pretty cool. And you can also adjust the amount here. If you double click and you type 24 ST, it'll do 24 semitones. Actually, that made it 24 semitones higher. I think what I meant is if you go into matrix and you double click here and you type 24 ST, that will bend at 24. Or if you type 12 ST, that's 1 octave. 24 was the default. And then if I did 36 ST, it would be 3 octaves. So you can't just set it to 36 here because it doesn't correspond to semitones. So you actually have to type 36 ST and then it's 3 octaves. So that's pretty cool. I think we're going to go back to 2 octaves though. Just depends on your track. Alright, so now we can go ahead and figure out a bass with our drum beat here. One way to do that, I could just go ahead and copy the kick we already have. So clicking on the note and then Command C to copy. Let's create a new clip here and paste. So now it'll follow the rhythm of the kick. But since we have no release, it's just a really tight beginning of the kick. So if I press legato now, it'll extend the notes out. And let's go ahead and move those to F. So it's going to be down here. And we can make this longer, like the other pattern, 8 bars. And you can add some gaps in here if you want to make it more impactful when it comes back in. So let's go ahead and do it on the second snare of each pattern. You can also go in here, adjust this pitch bend range, and then we can, so it's on 1 octave now, so we can go in here and draw some pitch bend that is going to span an octave. So let's go to MIDI control, and then it's on pitch bend, and now we can find some key parts to bend the pitch up or down an octave. And if you double click there. So this is Ableton 10. In older versions, you might have to do something like this, and then double click. And we can also, I mean, some of these could drop down. We could also make the first snares. Well, let's see what this sounds like. Okay, so it needs some adjusting. We can bring that in there, bring this in here. We can also add some more pitch bends. Add some drops from the top down. You can see that it was going too low in pitch when I dropped down there, and you couldn't even hear the bass really. So that's what I mean by F being about as low as you can go. So, and even that, you probably need good speakers to hear. So let's go ahead and copy that into the second section. Option, you can add some curves as well. So that's pretty cool. Now let's go ahead and add some other bass. So we will use, this time we're going to use Ableton's operator just out of ease. And I'm going to, you could do this in Serum too if you want, but I'm going to use the square, or the saw D for now. And that would sound like this. And that's kind of neat, but we can improve or transform the sound using different techniques such as Corpus or vocoder. So let's try both of these. Start with Corpus. So if I drop this on, you can open the sidechain section and take sidechain from itself, and then you can turn on frequency, and now it'll follow the pitch that's coming in from the MIDI. And then there's different physical modeling algorithms that you can use. And if I go ahead and turn up this pitch bend to 24, and then I go here and I turn up the pitch bend to 24, then if I bend the pitch, they should follow together as well. So that sounds pretty cool. And then I particularly like this tube algorithm. And you can adjust this XY to get some cool stuff. Can EQ it with that filter. So that's a pretty fun one to play with. We could go ahead and even copy part of this bass over. As well, so if I hold shift with everything selected and hit down, it'll go an octave down. No, back up. So that's a fun one to experiment with. You can resample it and use the audio in some cool ways, especially with some of this pitch bend stuff. Helps if you have a MIDI keyboard for that. You can also draw in the automation. So yeah, let's go ahead and copy these 3 tracks to arrangement view and see if we can build kind of a nice interplay between the 3. So I'm going to select these and drag them out, and then we can have some room to experiment. So let's loop that, Command L, and I can kind of go in here and mute different segments by pressing 0 on the selection. So we'll start with the sub bass in, and then we'll switch to our new bass, our mid bass, and then we'll kind of just try alternating between them a bit and see what happens. So I'll just go through hitting 0 on different selections. Okay, so now that we have, well, actually let me get through this section. I'm just gonna keep it simple for now and see how this sounds. So if I turn this on, alright, so now we have to adjust the start and end times of these so that they actually line up with the beginnings of the notes. Turn this one down. Not up, sorry, down. getting there. Let's go ahead and adjust these some more. Okay, so now we have a loop that's more interesting than just either one of those on their own. I can duplicate that out. Let's go ahead and copy this operator track and then remove corpus and instead put on vocoder, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take the modulator actually from external, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull the audio right from itself. So now we can alternate between those as well. Add some more variety. And we can play with these settings, so if I change this down to 8 bands, we can turn up the range and turn up the minimum range as well. We can adjust this bandwidth, play with the format. And so that's fun to actually automate. I can hit M to go out of the MIDI keyboard on the QWERTY keyboard, and then A to go into automation mode. In older versions of Live, you don't have to do that. It's a little different. But I can go in here now and draw some automation. Or I could record it in, which might be funner. So let's go ahead and record it in so we can get a more human feel to it. Something more organic. So what you will do is turn on this capture or this automation record overdub mode, and then you start at the beginning, hit record enable, and we can just grab this format as soon as it starts recording and move it around. Okay, wait, that didn't work. So we actually have to be record enabled on the track as well. So automation record, overdub mode, record enable here, record enable there, and now we should be able to record. Well, that didn't work either. I'm not sure why. I think that's what needs to be. Okay, let's try it again. Alright, so we've got a good section of it, and we can go ahead and copy that. we can add some other sounds, like maybe we'll do like a sigh squelch. So we can go in analog and basic shapes, and we could use this saw wave. There's so many different types of squelches you can make, and I have a video or several videos just about that, but we're just going to experiment, see what we can come up with real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and drag an LFO on here, Command Shift click to make it unipolar. Let's slow this down. Let's go ahead and just have it drop. Let's turn on the filter and get a interesting filter. And let's go ahead and automate this and reverse the automation. Let's go ahead and drop this an octave. It's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and see if there's a place this will fit. Maybe right there. So Command Shift M. You can see there's where the F is I'm pressing, so can hit legato and make that fill the whole clip. So it fits nicely in that little gap that we left. So let's go ahead and duplicate that to some of the other gaps. You can also throw on this free plugin from X for Records to give these, mid basses some more impact, some more bite. Play with this multi-band compression. You can also use the Ableton built-in one, but this plugin's free and it's a fun alternative. You can also try adding it to the other bass here. Meaning this one, okay. Add some variation here. Not sure why that ended up flat there, but we can ramp it up. Play with the bands too, so with 4 bands. You can also draw on the EQ here. So I'm liking that. We can go ahead and duplicate it out, and let's work on an intro and a build up into that for this section. So I'm going to drop out all the bass. Let's drop that out too, although that was kind of cool. But let's make like an intro that's kind of glitchy and interesting. So we're going to use some Glitchmachines effects for this. So let's go ahead and use palindrome, and we'll get some kind of synth textures going on, or some like granular effects. So let's see. Lots of samples we could use. I'm going to go and check out some of the Glitchmachines samples. So they have some free packs, and some of them come with some of their plugins, which they just had a big sale on. So now I have all of the Glitchmachine plugins. So let's go ahead and drag a sample in here, in sampler 1. And let's go ahead and hear what that sounds like. Let's try something else. So if I go back, where did I go? Samples. So that's pretty neat. We can click here to go into this envelope mode, and if you right click, you can, or it's shift click, you can add a point, and we can go ahead and have sync or no sync. Let's slow it way down. Then we can map this to whatever we want. So let's map it to the size. We can also take this second one and map that to something. So let's do the start position, and we can have that move really slowly as well. We could even experiment with the pitch here. And that's just one of the 4 samplers. Okay, so we can also throw some other stuff on here to get really glitchy. Let's just choose a preset for this quadrant plugin. That's pretty crazy. Let's go ahead and double click to add a MIDI clip and just draw a note in. Let's go ahead and extend this out for 8 bars. So we can actually move this drop up a bit so we don't keep people waiting too long for the intro. And let's move this beat in. Also, this is a little odd. Let's try a different preset. Now we can add a snare fill. Let's actually do that before anything else happens. So we'll start with let's go ahead and get really creative and make like a big build up with the snare. And we can even do something like this, and maybe we'll drop it out at the last little bit there. We could try going super fast. You can also turn on this narrow grid to help snap these into place. You can see some of them were a little off. And let's go ahead and add those like quick fills that kind of trail into the beat. Let's see what that sounds like, and we can adjust it. Sort of. Okay, let's move these over here. Let's move this over here. we need that that kick to hit right there. So just got to make sure your basses don't interfere with each other. But right now it sounds not too bad, since there's not a ton of low bass in there, and I can even remove the lows like that. Let's move this up here. And let's try some more experimental stuff in the beginning. So let's find some other samples. Let's just like make a audio clip, actually, a few audio tracks. And I can delete these default racks, because we don't need them right now. And we'll just add some samples here for the intro. Go ahead and fade this out. We kind of want to reduce the energy right before the drop to give it more contrast so the drop hits harder. So we want to build the energy, but not with too much going on to where it drowns out the drop. Let's raise that up a semitone. Maybe 2. It sounds like it's more in tune now. Add like a laser zap or something here. Maybe reverse it. You can use the reverse button here, or hit R in Ableton 10. Some great, great SFX can add a lot to your production quality. So it's just about finding cool sounds and finding cool ways to integrate them. That's kind of cool. Try some of these IDM samples. Might have to change the key. we can add something melodic here. Little vocal chops can be great too.
Right.
Little fills can add a lot to your beat as well. So if I gotta just tune it to your song. Maybe warp it so you get the beats in place. We can add some of that to the beginning as well. Try without that one. It's almost better. We can add some delay to this as well. So since there's other effects on there, let's do a new track. Move it down here. I have a delay built into this rack, so we could just use that. You can also throw a limiter on the master to prevent any distortion. Ableton's 32-bit float, so it's not really clipping, but it can still distort as it goes out the master. So let's go ahead and add something melodic now, like I was alluding to before. So let's go ahead and find like a cool pattern to start, maybe a loop. Let's try that. So we have to tune it, so let's start by doing that. I think it might be down 5. Actually 4. So we could have that in the intro, have it reintroduced over here, and since going down 4 semitones is pretty low, we could actually hold shift and press up and see what it sounds like up. And to make it more interesting, we could also glitch up the patterns using whatever we want, but let's try Glitchmachines again. So let's do Fracture XT this time. Might be too glitchy for this, so we could make one from scratch, or we can just keep looking at different presets and try and find one that's a little more subtle. Quadrant's fun. I like quadrant a lot. Pretty cool. We can also play with the settings of an existing preset like this. Of course, we could then freeze this to audio. Flatten it. And now we have the audio pattern re-affected, so then we can do more with this. For example, stutter this out manually. We can hit Command J to group those. Hit F to show the fades in Ableton 10. Kind of fun. You can also duplicate this, reverse it. Just reverse little sections or have little lead-ins to other sections that are reversed. You can also chop out little segments. Get it like a gated effect. And you can see how you can really get something totally new this way. And let's go ahead and take this section, paste it here, reverse it again. Alright, so now we have a nice variation from the original. We can also cut off that tail since it's an audio. Let's Let's hear it with everything else again. Cool, so from there it's just about extending it out, creating more variations like a breakdown, an outro, maybe multiple breakdowns, maybe add some vocals, who knows, sky's the limit. But it's a really fun start and I'm glad I could share it with you guys, so I hope you learned something. And until next time, I'm Entendre. I'm just going to let this play out. And see you soon.